covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, it's another hour of the program. You know what that means? Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost. We're at RGS Exteriors today in West Jordan. Beautiful day, by the way. We are just tickled with all this. But I'm not going to be real excited about jumping into my car at the end of this because it's like 95 degrees out, and then we're going back to the old August situation. I'm going to have that sweaty back.
Enjoy it while you
can. Fine. Joining us on the program right now, as usual, he is Steve Bartle. He's our Utes insider for KSLSports.com. Let's jump in. It's the top of the hour, and we get into it with The Cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this portion of the show is always brought to you by the folks at Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram as part of the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. If it's got Fork in the name, it's got a Doug Smith dealership, and they're going to take care of you. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. And nobody knows the Utes like Steve Bartle, our Ute insider for KSLSports.com. What's going on, Steve? How's everything, man?
I'm good. How are you fellas doing?
Oh, it's phenomenal weather outside. I'm surprised you're not on the golf course right now, or are you?
Oh, man, how I wish I was now that you bring it up. So thanks a lot, Alex.
We got to sneak in. We got to sneak in those last few days of nice weather before.
Steve, we all have to work and make a living.
No, it's fine.
We're all I know. It's tough, man.
Hey, 4-0 Utes. What's crazy about 4-0 Utah is everybody has expected them to be 4-0. Everybody expects them to be 5, 6, 7-0. The amount of pressure that comes with being one of the best teams in the conference and the team who everybody looks at and thinks that they're going to win that thing, when they have that dominant win over Oklahoma State, and I know the numbers the score at the end didn't look like it on paper, but that was a wholly dominant performance by that defense. What goes on in a game like that where teams are just absolutely broken, and Oklahoma State by the half, they already knew they didn't even have it against Utah. They had no way to crack that code on that Morgan Scalley defense.
I mean, it just speaks to what's the right word? You know, it really just speaks to the capability of the entire defense, what they're capable of, and what this group, the potential that this group has. I think it was truly impressive to see, this group, considering how they performed against Utah State. And there's a lot of context to consider there with that performance and allowing a Bryson Barnes to throw for a couple of touchdowns, allowing a Rashul Faison to run for over 100 yards. Utah tried some new things schematically, and it didn't work out, and that allowed Utah State to get going. But I think what we've learned is that when Utah, when they've got a big task at hand, that they're ready to meet that challenge, right? And I think that's what we learned about this group and the defense in particular, that, Ollie Gordon, the reigning Doak Walker Award winner, Alan Bowman, who was, 30 yards shy of 1,000 yards through 3 games. The fact that you went into their home stadium and performed at the level that you did to limit them to season lows in both regards, in both phases of the offense, it just speaks to the potential of this group, because there's still a lot of things that they probably feel they could have done, that they can clean up and execute at an even higher level. So, it was a really encouraging sign that this defense played at the level that they did in week 4. And yet, it was still without Connor O'Toole. It was still without Karenni Reed. And, without Kenan Johnson for the season, you saw progress from a Scooby Davis and from a Cam Calhoun, where you went into a top 15 program's house and took control of the game from kickoff, and 55 minutes later you let up on the gas and allowed them to score 2 points, but really just an impressive performance. The sort of performance that caught the attention of national media all across the country and really everybody taking note of Utah. And I think the message there is that, hey, there's a lot more to this team than Cam Rising. There is a lot more to this team than Cam Rising. And, I think that was a big win for Utah.
You just mentioned Cam Rising. Let's get into that. It feels like, Steve, and I understand the frustration of a lot of fans, and it feels like we're on that roller coaster again with Cam Rising and his health and all this stuff. How should Utah handle this? And have you heard anything about his availability this week? And is there some building frustration maybe that maybe he should have gone even though he wasn't 100%?
Well, I think it's important to understand, right, that Cam is genuinely injured, and with an injury to your throwing hand, there's a lot of volatility there, right? Where if he grips it the wrong way or he throws it with a little too much force, potentially there's a chance to potentially re-injure that, right? And I think that's important to keep in mind. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but I just think we're talking about a guy's finger on his throwing hand and how important it is to be able to execute at a certain level, especially in a matchup like that, against a top 15 team like that. You want to have your ducks in a row. And with Cam, I think, they gave him some time off during the week last week to rest up before the game to hopefully get that finger to the point where, he could go out and perform on Saturday. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. He genuinely went through warm-ups. Watching him, he was throwing it, 35, 40, 45 yards. There wasn't a lot of zip on it. But he was making those throws, and I think he's close. But I think with the way that Utah performed overall as a team and the way that Isaac performed as a true freshman on the road, you feel much more confident about Utah's ability to weather the storm, without Cam at the helm. And in order for Utah to reach their absolute best this season, they need Cam Rising healthy. And I think that's the most important thing to keep in mind. Is as much frustration as there is in the week-to-week and the day-to-day even, the big picture here is that you don't reach your peak, you don't reach your ceiling without a fully healthy Cam. And so, I think it's just best for Utah fans, at this stage to just assume that Isaac is going to be the guy until we know that Cam is fully healthy and ready to go. Because again, just with that, with it being the finger on his throwing hand, right? The one the one thing that a quarterback needs most is his throwing hand. It's just there's so much volatility there. So I think they probably want to make sure that finger and hand is 100% before he's back. So I would just suggest to Utah fans to just anticipate Isaac Wilson until we see Cam take that first snap.
There you go. And I think that's part of the deal here, Steve, is people have seen enough from Isaac Wilson to believe in him, to trust him. Yeah. And I think he earned that trust, especially last week. So and I think that's the difference between this year and last year. Is last year, obviously, there was no trust with whoever was going to go out there. You had Bryson Barnes play a great game against USC, but he was really bad against Baylor and a couple of other games. So this year they have a quarterback they can trust at QB2. And what is it if you're watching the development of Isaac Wilson? I covered him in high school. I saw his growth and development there. You're following him each and every day at practices and games. What have you seen with the growth of him? What's different about him from Southern Utah to now getting ready to play Arizona?
Man, I wish I was covering him every practice. I would love to be up at practice watching these guys.
Yeah, I bet you will. We all do. You know what I mean. Yes. You're covering him as much as you can cover him.
Give us something, Utes. Come on.
It's been really an impressive progression from him from week one to week two. Obviously, there's context to consider there with that one with Baylor. Coming into a game he wasn't anticipating to play because obviously you need Cam out there. You want Cam out there, and Cam gets injured, and all of a sudden he's thrust into action. And, he took care of business and took care of the ball, and that was important, just getting out of that game with the win. But we saw what he can be against Utah State with a full week of prep. And I think, that game, with the way that he played, with the level of execution he showed, in those second, third, and fourth quarters, I think that was a really big boost to the confidence that others around him have in him now. I think that was a big thing for everybody else, all the other players, the coaches, to see him go out and perform at the level that he did against Utah State. I think that was a real big boost, for the program, because you go back to the Baylor game, and Coach Whittingham talked about it, that Cam gets injured, and you can't allow it to deflate you, right? He talked about the offense kind of losing its focus, losing its energy and passion, and just allowing it to affect you. And I think with Isaac stepping into action the last 2 weeks, I think it's really instilled confidence, in him from others, and it's also translated to better play for Isaac, which is, raised the confidence level of others in others. So, for Isaac to come in to this role and to this opportunity, and he's a tremendous talent. The young talent that he showed, he's made some impressive throws. He's made some, less than perfect throws, things that he can correct, but he's still executing the offense and making good decisions, and I think that's really, really important. So, as we look ahead to this matchup with Arizona, what sort of step can he take now that he has the Utah State game and Oklahoma State game under his belt? I think could be really, really interesting to see, what sort of leap he could potentially make, assuming that Cam doesn't play. I think is going to be a big deal. But I think it's big for him to have the confidence of others and what that'll mean for him in his play.
Well, I think Utah fans should be excited because the experience that he's having to get. I know there are some people who are like, oh, man, they're going to burn that red shirt and all that. But it's like, could you get a better version of experiences your true freshman year where you're thrown in kind of into some hostile situations, not just kind of absolutely hostile situations. The Utah State game, at least he got all those reps during the week. And then this last week he was tested with hey, we don't know. We're going to give you half the reps, and you're going to have to figure it out from there. And so he's grown up kind of right before your eyes here, and he's the future. I said,
it's not fair, to be honest.
Well, on top of it, though, you can't
You're
help
asking a lot of that kid.
But you can't help but grow from it, right? I mean,
100%.
that's the part where I think it's good, is that he can't help but grow from it, and that's the guy who's going to inherit the program. So, I couldn't imagine something being, one, it's stressful for Utah fans, but they've won those games, and he's been the head of that. Now, on top of that, a guy who's been a big part of it is Mekhi Bernard. We're going to be able to have our weekly conversation with him coming up at 5 o'clock, and we've loved every week being able to chat with him because he keeps getting better every week, and he had his best performance maybe of his entire career last week in 182 yards on the ground at Oklahoma State in front of a crowd that was used to seeing their running back take over games. So what's been the impact of Mekhi and how important that role has been for him? And can we kind of just throw it all out the window and just say, hey, RB1 is Mekhi Bernard?
I think we're to that point with Mekhi. Look, man, he's the guy. This is his role. He's RB1. He's put in the work, and he's gone out there and just done it. It was fascinating to listen to Kyle Whittingham talk about Mekhi and talk about the limitations that they need to have on him and how he can't handle more than 20 carries. And then he looks at the numbers like, how many did he have? Oh, he had 25. Oh, wow. Well, that's the max. That's the max sort of workload that he can handle. And I just think Mekhi has worked really hard this offseason to embrace this sort of role and to have him continue to go out and perform at the level that he has, and to surprise even his head coach at what he's doing, in terms of the workload and just his production. I think is really, really cool for him. It's a testament to the trust that coaches have in him, to go out there and know that he's going to execute whatever is called, whatever sort of adjustment might be made, at the line of scrimmage. They know that they can rely on him and trust him to execute at a really high level. And now the fact that he's worked hard this offseason to put on weight, he got up to about 210 pounds. What you're seeing from him is the added strength the sort of boost that's given him, running the ball. You're watching him break tackle after tackle and still have, the nimbleness, the shiftiness, the explosiveness to break off these big explosive runs. I think it's been really impressive. I'm not sure anybody really could have predicted this. I was optimistic that he could be a guy that could be RB1 and could handle a bigger workload, but to be a guy that carries the ball 25 times and is putting up almost 200 yards, I think I don't want to say super surprising, but I think even it's remarkable to see that from him. And really, it couldn't happen to a better player on that team because he has been around for so long. He's put so much work into this thing. Now, he talked about that in the post-game presser, that he's genuinely worked hard for 5 years to be in this position, and to see him capitalizing on it, you feel an extra sense of gratitude for him and those types of players.
Arizona up next in the dark at Rice-Eccles Stadium, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time Saturday. We all know what happened in Tucson last year, and I'm not going to say it's going to come down to execution, but if Utah gets a nice lead, they're 11-point favorites. If they get a lead in there, because of what happened at the end of last year, Steve, do you think they're going to put the foot on the gas? How much of what happened at the end of last year could be a factor on Saturday night?
Well, I think, regardless of what the end result ends up being, that absolutely is going to be a thing that Coach Whittingham, other coaches point to. And this is just something that college football coaches do. College sports coaches do. All sports. They all try to find these slights, these angles to create a greater chip on the shoulder. And so Utah is absolutely going to use what happened last year as added motivation for this game. And yet, Arizona, they're probably fully aware of what last year will mean to Utah, and they're going to come into this, looking for a fight as well. So, Utah, you can't just rely on, the disrespect of, and you shouldn't even say disrespect, but what that play late in that game potentially meant to them. You can't just rely on that as your source of motivation. It's still going to be important for these guys to go out, play after play, and play a disciplined brand of football to execute at a high level, because Arizona is the sort of team that, even though they lost big against Kansas State on the road, Noah Fafita is a tremendous quarterback. He's a disciplined quarterback. He's going to demand the absolute best of this Utah defense. And so the defense has to be at its best. Coming off the Oklahoma State game, they're going to carry themselves with a bit more confidence. But this is going to be a tougher test, given that Noah Fafita, I think, is a better quarterback than Allen Bowman. Teteroa McMillan is a fantastic receiver, and that's going to be a tough test. So it's going to be important for these guys to raise their level of play, and for Utah, you need them to establish the run, to control the ball, and just execute at a really high level in this one.
Steve Bartle, Ute Insider for KSLSports.com, joins us as he does every week. Steve, we appreciate you taking some extra time, and we'll chat with you again. We're looking forward to this game this weekend, man.
All right, fellas. Appreciate you guys.
We'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner.
With complete coverage of the Utah Hockey Club, this is Cole Bagley of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. My goodness. It is football season, isn't it, JJ?
Yes, it is.
We're right in the thick of it.
But you know what we're also excited about?
What?
A little hockey.
Go hockey.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure tomorrow we're going to be able to chat with Bill Armstrong.
That's right, 4 o'clock.
General manager of the Utah Hockey Club.
Don't call him Billy.
Don't call him Billy. Oh, well, listen, Bear can. No, that's Billy's job. Billy has to get those guys in, make them work hard.
Bear can do anything he wants because
I know.
he's Bear.
I asked our boss if we can call him Billy. We called Nick Schmaltzy, and he prefers that.
And what did our boss say? He was going to do what to you?
He would physically assault me.
He was going to rip out your larynx.
I think the larynx rip out is that's an elite move.
Better your larynx than your coccyx.
Don't you dare! This is a family program, JJ. Joining us on the program right now, he is our Utah Hockey Club insider, Cole Bagley, on the program here with us. What's going on, Cole? I mean, my goodness, we've had a week of preseason games on the road, and then another big one, of course, at home. You're probably still coming down from Cloud 9 after that situation on Monday, right?
I didn't know what to do with myself yesterday. They gave the boys the day off, and I just sat around like I had no clue what to do with myself. So it was a relief when I got to come to the rink this morning and watch these guys practice some more, talk to a few guys, and see Tij Iginla on the ice for the first time.
Hey, that's exciting. It's good to see Tij back out there. But you were there on Monday night, and it was just a preseason game, Cole, but place was packed. You had an overtime goal for the win. I mean, that was special.
Yeah.
What was the environment like there, and how much bigger is it going to be when we actually have games that count?
It was an unreal atmosphere for a preseason game. I talked to about 5 or 6 of the guys over the last couple of days, and every time you ask them, hey, what was that environment like? They immediately are grinning ear to ear. Like they genuinely could feel the electricity that was at the Delta Center, and I mean, I would echo what they said. It was unbelievable. I mean, I got chills multiple times throughout the evening. When they took the ice for warm-ups, when they turn off all the lights and the guys come out, and I mean, the place just went crazy. And then, of course, the first goal, the roof popped off, and they had a couple fights. I mean, the first period was just as good as the NHL gets on a nightly basis. A couple goals, a couple fights, some big hits. The crowd gets into it, and we had just incredible hockey in Salt Lake City on Monday night.
I love that. A couple goals, couple fights. That's all we need. Just every few periods. Just give us something like that. But yeah, I was telling JJ, I go, you know what? Maybe these guys know how to get the crowd involved, and like the 2 goals fired them up, obviously. But then when the fights happen too, and when Spicy Tuna's out there throwing some punches and then taking a guy down onto the ice there, man, that's about as fun as it gets. And I know the NHL's not big on it's not as big of a fight culture as it used to be, right? Like I think it's turned a corner in that sense, but it still is like pretty darn exciting, and it's one element that hockey still has that is that's awesome to witness and awesome to kind of be a part of. So now what? The rest of the way here. What's the rest of the preseason look like, and then what does it look like walking up to October 8th when the puck will drop for real at Delta Center?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there's quite a few games on the schedule now for the preseason out of town. So they're headed to Vegas this weekend. They'll meet up with Colorado, out to San Jose, Anaheim, and then they'll come home and play their final preseason game at the Maverick Center against Colorado. So, a couple games on the road, which is unfortunate for fans and most of us in the media as well. As I won't be able to attend those games live, but it's still going to be great. These guys are coming together. We saw glimpses of how good this power play unit is going to be. Not only just the first lineup with guys like Keller and Sergachev, but then the second unit scored both goals in the first period for them with Kerfoot and Krause and Michelli. That lineup is looking really good and is one definitely to keep an eye on as we approach the season. But for the next 2 weeks, it's just about continued development. It's about shoring up lines, pairings. Who's going to be on that second and third line? Is Josh Stone going to make the roster? Does Cole Beaudois have a legitimate chance to be on the opening day roster? How do those defensive pairings look now that you've got Sergachev on this team and Marino and Cole? How does that shift things? Who's going to be out there with Dursey? So there's still a lot to be done through these next couple of weeks, and it's all about just making sure that they have the right guys on the roster when October 8th hits, and not only the right guys on the roster, but that they have the right lines and pairings so that they can be clicking right as the puck drops.
You mentioned Tij Iginla earlier, and there's a 99.9% chance he's not going to be on the roster. He's going to be playing back up north. We know that, but I think everybody's excited about this young kid, and they love it for a chance to see him on the ice. You mentioned he's back out practicing. Is there any chance that fans could get to see him one time in that game at the Maverick Center against the Avalanche?
We'll see if they put him out there at the Maverick Center. I think it would be the right thing to do. I anticipate we'll see Tij dress for one of these preseason games. Not for certain yet. He's not quite 100%, is what he told us today, but he's well enough to be out on the ice. He looks good. I mean, we had a 2-hour practice, and I just completely focused on him. I watched his movements, to see if he looked like he was still hurting, or if there was any sort of fatigue or anything like that. As far as I saw, he looked phenomenal. He was his old self again. He was fast. He was smart. He was creative, and at times he was a one-man show. In one particular instance, he came from behind the net with the puck, came right into the slot area, stopped on a dime, and sent his defender flying and put it in the back of the net before the goalie could even figure out that the shot was headed his way. And then moments later, he scored on a tip-in right in front of the crease. So he looks good. It might just be more of, hey, I don't quite feel 100% yet. But my guess is they'll just kind of continue to play it by ear, see how he's doing. And if he feels 100%, that I would anticipate they throw him on the ice. Not for certain if it'll be, the last tune-up game at the Maverick Center. There could be some things going into that where they say, hey, rather than throwing, Tij out there when he's likely not going to make this roster, we'd rather have as close to our opening night roster as possible. But, we'll see as time goes on.
Cole Bagley, Utah Hockey Club insider, KSLSports.com, living the dream here in the next few weeks. And then, of course, I love how you're like, I don't even know what to do with myself today. And then in a few months, it's going to be like, I have not gotten a break, because these games are going to be, of course, coming at you fast and furious, and going 82 across an entire season is a lot. 41 at home. Cannot wait for this one. Cole, thanks for hanging out with us, man. We'll chat with you again.
Yeah, hoping to just keep the energy going. It's been amazing so far, and I can't wait to continue. So happy to be here, and I feel like the luckiest guy on the planet right now.
You are.
You're killing it, Cole. Thanks.
Something tells me. I was going to say something tells me we're going to be able to keep this energy up.
Yeah, for sure. Every week here, Cole.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
sounds good, guys.
There you go, Cole Bagley, everybody. Let's take the break here. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. Hey, by the way, it's time for the KSL Sports Zone UFC ticket giveaway. Your chance to win a pair of tickets to UFC 307 at Delta Center on October 5th. Just go to KSLSports.com/contest right now. You click the UFC 307 ticket giveaway, and then you enter a keyword. Today, the keyword is heavyweight. You making fun of me, Jeremy? Is that what's going on? Okay. Jeremy assures me
I heard a snicker. I heard a snicker.
The keyword
all the
for
way
today,
over here.
The UFC 307 giveaway. The ticket giveaway keyword is heavyweight. So there you go. Type it in there on the KSLSports.com/contest page, and you can be entered to win. Here we go. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner. Like I said, at 5 o'clock, you're going to be able to hear from Utah running back Mekhi Bernard, our weekly conversation with him. And then also next hour, the wide receivers coach for BYU, Fesi Satake, going to join us. So join us the rest of the day. You don't want to miss any of it. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's the first Big 12 home battle for the Utes as they return to the Hill for a battle against Arizona. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's JK. All right, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to chat with Tim Brown here at RJ6 Series in just a moment. Before we do, two things going on. We talked with Steve Bartle last hour, and then we had Cole Bagley on, so I didn't get to ask you this. But What are we doing? What are we doing with the whole camera thing?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing? Why are we doing this again? Utah fan is the rising rumor fatigue has got to be. It's a fever pitch at this point.
There's two things I want to separate here. Mm-hmm. So Cam Rising, I understand. I'm not saying he's not hurt.
That's what Steve Bartle said. He goes,
None of us
just don't mistake it. He's injured. I said, no, I get it.
We get that. We understand.
He was injured last year.
But you can also at the same time understand, like, my goodness, this roller coaster is not fun to be on.
Right.
Guessing and wondering whether or not this player is going to show up. And I can't imagine what it's like for the team being like, well, who's our quarterback on Saturday? We don't know. This is a team that has the ability to not only go to the playoffs but win a playoff game.
No, I know.
We've seen the talent.
Wild.
But we're not seeing a complete four quarters out of this team either. So it's frustrating. And you almost feel like Kyle Whittingham at the beginning of the week say, okay, until Cam is 100% healthy and says he's ready to go, the freshman's our quarterback.
Yeah.
And we're just going to roll with him until you hear otherwise. That would take care of it because we're okay.
Yeah, but that's not what he says, obviously.
Right.
And part of it is
and he's not going to because he doesn't have to.
Right, and there's the gamesmanship on top of it, but there's also the part where it's like, I don't need to tell you anything. So Kyle Whittingham was like, I don't care. I don't need to tell you anything.
The team knows, or is the team still in the dark?
Now, that's an interesting question.
Because that's really all that matters.
I think that, based off of how he was warming up last week, like, would you want that guy to go? No.
I would have made that decision the second in the middle of the week where you're like, okay, he's not feeling it. Okay, we're done.
Right.
We got to get Isaac ready.
Okay.
And if he's thrown with a glove, he can't play.
Let me roll out. Here's what Witt said. I'll just remind you. Here's what he said about the availability of Cam Rising for this week.
To be determined throughout the course of this week, and it's hinged upon how things go in practice, where guys are health-wise and that type of thing. Don't have that answer just yet.
Where's your BS meter on that, JJ?
I mean, he doesn't have to tell us.
I know.
So, yeah, it's high. But it's no disrespect to Kyle. He doesn't have to tell us.
He has a process, too. And it's worked. Why would you question it?
And that was on Tuesday.
Right.
So you can't make that evaluation on Tuesday. You've got to see him throw throughout the week. Right. I understand that. I'm not naive and dumb. It's a process going through the week to find out whether he's ready or not. He can feel like last week. It sounds like he felt good earlier in the week, and then it kind of got sore or something. I don't know. Like, it's just an injury. You're dealing with it. The problem is it's an injury at the main position.
Yeah.
And if this was another university and another different situation, it'd be like, whatever. But this is different for the Utes.
It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. We got to get some stuff away here before we get to Tim. Today, being Win Ticket Wednesday, in honor of it, we're going to give out some tickets. Real Salt Lake taking on Minnesota United FC on October 2nd. What's that, next week? Yeah. Real Salt Lake, Minnesota United FC, October 2nd, America First Field. Easy enough for you to be able to win those. You just be calling number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. It's all part of a Win Ticket Wednesday right here on the KSL Sports Zone. Speaking of being on the air here, Tim from RJS Exteriors on the now, you get to chat with customers quite a bit, and when you get to chat with them at their place, at their houses, and you kind of get with them and they're going through some of the things, the big concerns that are out there, not just this time of year, but kind of in general. So you have a couple things, the functionality part, and then the part where you want to beautify the home too, which is also something you guys take a lot of pride in, making sure that the home looks beautiful. I'm one of those guys that has Hardy siding on the outside of the home. I love the Hardy siding, and you guys are have a massive relationship with the James Hardy siding people. So tell us a little bit about that and what you guys can do to make the outside of the home look better, which means your house is going to be worth more.
Yeah, I love it. So a couple things. One, let's go back to there's a magazine, Remodel Magazine, every year does what they call cost versus value. And they basically give you, if you do X to your home, you're going to get Y back. For years, it was kitchens and bathrooms was the highest return. Then it was really weird. One year was a garage door. Don't know why, but that was one of the biggest things you got. But the last couple of years has actually been, believe it or not, James Hardie siding.
Yeah.
So in other words, one of the best things you can do for your home is James Hardie siding as far as what you're going to get back. Now, I would never lie to anybody and say you're going to get 1-to-1 back, but you might, especially with the way homes are appreciating in Utah. You may get it. So that would be the first thing is that you're going to dramatically appreciate your value of your home by updating your exteriors.
Sure.
The second thing, going back to, we have a very big relationship with James Hardie. We are the only true elite preferred Hardie contractor. There's a few listed on the website, but if you dig into it detail, they don't have. In order to be an elite preferred, you have to have a referral rate of 90% or more, meaning 90% of your customers will hire you again.
Sure.
From an independent company of gold quality. We're the only ones in the state of Utah that meet that,
awesome.
and we have a 94% rating. Unheard of in nationwide, to be honest with you. So that's something we're proud of. Second thing is I personally sit on the board of directors for the advisory council for James Hardie siding. We're the only ones in the Western United States. Why? Because we install so much Hardie. So what does all that mean? We're in bed with Hardie. Great. But what that means for you as a consumer is that we are going to be able to take care of you because of my relationship. I literally sit on a board with the CEO, with the number one guys of James Hardie siding. If we ever have an issue, I have a direct connection.
That's awesome.
It's a huge thing. It's something that I'm very, very grateful for. I'm proud of. We have a board meeting in 2 weeks that they just kind of sprung on us. I already had a meeting going. They're like, you got to do something to get here. We need you here. And it's not that we're anything great. It's just that we're so in tune with what the homeowners. We're plugged in. Love it. So, and the last thing really is we've talked a lot about gutters today, but we haven't talked about just what it can do to make the difference in your home.
Yeah.
When you replace your home, you have an old stucco or stone or brick or old vinyl or wood siding, and you replace it and update it with new James Hardie siding, it is amazing. You literally have a brand new home.
Wow.
And it's way more affordable than people think. Is it cheap? No. But we have so many financing options that we can do that we can do the job today and not even pay a penny for a year. Or we can do long-term financing or an equity line in your house. There's 100 options. We got to get in the mindset. When we buy a car, how often do we just drop green cash and pay cash for our cars?
Not that often.
We don't.
Yeah.
We finance them. Well, that asset depreciates, but our homes appreciate.
Right.
Why would we not finance when we do work on our home that appreciates?
It's cheap
the money
man.
that you're
Good
paying,
investment.
it's a huge investment because even the money, even if you're paying interest, your home is gaining more equity than the interest you're paying. So you're still making money on it. So we tell customers all the time, finance that project. Don't pay cash for it. So anyway, that's what we're here. We're here to help out, and that's what we're here for.
Let me give out the phone number, 801-280-3110. That's 801-280-3110. You've got a connection here in the state of Utah when it comes to that Hardie siding, and I'm telling you,
better.
It looks beautiful.
James Hardie siding is the way to go.
It looks awesome, and it functions phenomenally, and there's just nothing better. So if you want to get somebody to get in and take a look at it and see how you can appreciate that massive investment that you've made in your home, then let's do it. 801-280-3110 for RJ's Exteriors. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Our conversation with Mekhi Bernard coming up next. Stay right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Get the latest Utah sports headlines delivered to your inbox with the KSL Sports Newsletter from the Jazz.